Hello, I'm Regina McCann Hess, president of Forge Wealth Management, and welcome to our Women in Wealth series. Today, I have a new friend with me, and could you tell us who you are, what you do, and what you love about what you do?
Of course. Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Stevyn Guinnip, and I am an exercise physiologist, the daughter of a successful financial advisor, and I have a company that I founded called Grow Wellthy. And basically, I quote, call myself a wellness coach for financial folks. And I show up right at the intersection of wealth and health and help financial advisors to live well and to retire wealthy. And of course, it's a play on words, Wellthy. I love what I do because I grew up as, seeing this as my secondhand experience as an advisor with my dad in this industry, meeting all of his colleagues. And I feel like I've come over the last 2 decades full circle to come back and serve the people that mean so much to me. And one of the reasons, I'll be brief, but one of the reasons for that is because when I was younger, I saw that people were putting a lot of time and effort into their finances, and then they were kind of neglecting their health. And then when it came time to retire, they were either getting sick or dying prematurely before they got a chance to use that. And so I feel very fortunate, very honored to be able to support people to, like I said, live well now, but also retire wealthy.
That's fantastic. And I will say, and we, as financial advisors, we don't really think about this very often, but after speaking with you, it's really popping a lot of bubbles in my head. Um, but we have a very stressful job, and I can see why a lot of us, wind up with health issues towards the end of our careers because we're in a big stress bubble, and we're trying to put a warm fuzzy blanket around some of our clients when those big pivots, happen. So
Right.
I can understand the stress level definitely affecting our health.
Yeah, I kind of call it a toxic cocktail for disease because not only do you have the stress component, which is just from a volatile market that you can't control, plus the responsibility of your clients, right? Because you care about who they are. But then you match that with the nature of the job, which is sedentary, and you're just spending a lot of time, decades behind a computer, sometimes even taking out clients and maybe, you know, not eating the healthiest because you're entertaining and some of those things, obviously not as much in the last 18 months,
Yeah.
but you kind of combine all of those things and it creates this toxic cocktail for creating some problems in the future. So I'm from Arkansas. I'm from Missouri, but I grew up in Arkansas where that's where my dad had his practice. And the mighty Mississippi River runs right through where we are, and it's all cotton fields, right? So
Oh,
what
pretty.
I liken it to when you're an advisor is that the mighty Mississippi River is constantly bearing down on you, and it floods and it wants to flood all your fields. And you kind of have to build these levees up to keep the water where the water is, and then protect all of the other parts of your life too, like your health, your relationships, etc.
Wow. I love that analogy. And I love the visualization of the cotton fields with the river, right? Going through it. Like the river is like so powerful. Like at first I was like, oh, how pretty. And then you're like, no, it's like powerful and it's doing all this stuff and you got to protect yourself. That's
Yeah, it's like
really neat.
the Mississippi is life-giving, like our careers, but it also is destructive, and it's powerful, and it never stops. It's not like you can control the river, right?
Yeah.
All you can do is control the response to the river. And so the stress isn't really going to go away in this industry, and your clients aren't not going to not need you. So it's one of those things, you just learn how to build up your levees and create some safe spaces and protect the things that are important to you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so cool. Now are you, I know you're working on a project right now. Do you want to talk about that? And I think I love this project.
Yes, I'd love to. Thank you. I am a pending or developing first time author, and I'm working on a book, and it's not something I set out to do. This book is something that was first an idea of a client of mine. He said, "Hey, I have never looked at health through this lens before from a financial perspective. And then he's like, you need to write a book about this. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And then a few other clients said the same thing. A publisher came to me and said, I think you're onto something here with this health is wealth cliche, but actually making it real for financial advisors and what this means to them and to their clients. Again, I said no. And then a book coach showed up in my life, and I was like, okay, that's enough prompting. I will walk through this door. And that's what I'm doing. So hopefully it will be coming out in first quarter of 2022. So, which is really not that far away, but through the
Wow.
end of the year, I'm collecting tons of data. I have a lot of the I don't know, the guts of the book written and ready because I already have a program called the Wealth Academy. But I'm really excited about all the stories I'm hearing from advisors, especially female financial advisors, because they have a whole host of different stressors and concerns and things that they deal with in this industry that affect their health. So it's been such a rewarding project.
That's exciting. And I love how you had many signs before you were like, okay, already, I'm going to write the book.
I know. It's one of those things where you're like, nope, nope, nope. And everything else is saying, yes, this is your calling. And I truly believe that this is my calling. The experiences that I've gone through, I mean, I went through lots of things. I was like, fitness is the answer. This is how I'm going to change the world. Finance is part of that, but I need to fix the other side too. And then I realized actually fitness is not the answer because I did it all. I worked for the NIH, National Institutes of Health. And then I went to Australia and launched some programs over there. I did corporate wellness, cardiac rehab. I did it
Wow.
all.
Wow.
And I realized that was not the answer. And there's so much low hanging fruit that is the answer. And then now I consider fitness and exercise like the cherry on top, not the foundation of what we need to do to improve it. And I had one lady, she's like, I don't even know if I want to get healthy because what it requires of me is not a life I want to live.
Oh,
And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, people think this is hard. When you tweak just a few things and kind of get in alignment with who you are, what you enjoy, and how your physiology works, it becomes easy and it takes all that concern away. So I feel like this is a calling that is my place to change the industry.
I love it. And there's no one out there doing what you're doing. Like it's rare that somebody, focuses on the financial advisor's health. And I love how you used the wealthy and the spelling of it. And it's creative, but it grabs you right away.
Oh,
So
thank you so
kudos
much.
to you. And I cannot wait for this book. I'm so excited. I can't wait to read it.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to read it too. I don't know the direction it's going to head yet. If it's going to focus on, one particular aspect or if it's going to be holistic. I don't really know yet. I'm really, that's why I'm doing these interviews to find out where their struggles are, what's
Yeah.
their biggest frustration. And back to what you said about like working only with advisors in this specific area. My colleagues came to me when I started this a few years back and they were like, what are you doing? Are you crazy? Like, why would you narrow down to such a small group of people when you can help anybody? And I was like, it's part of my DNA. It's part of the language that I speak. It's a purpose for me to serve these people. But what it allows me to do, Regina, is to speak their language
Yes.
and put all of this into terms that really make like an aha moment to say, oh, I never thought of my health as an asset before, something that I can track trends on, that I can see gaps in and fix those, just like I would do for a financial plan.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love the fact because you grew up around it with your dad, you get us, you get our industry, and you have a better understanding of how you can help. So that's really cool.
Yeah. There's one moment I was probably 17 or 18. So I'm 40, I'm 47 or 8. I always forget, but 40 something, almost 50. And I was 17 or 18 on one of these awards trips with this big company that my dad worked for. And I was sitting on a bus. It was after some big event with food and everything. And one of the top people in the company, one of the partners, managing partners, was on the bus and I was sitting next to him. We were just chatting. He was miserable.
Oh,
He didn't want to be there. He was sick. His relationships were suffering. And it like, I still remember sitting there, what it felt like, what it smelled like, how I felt. And I was like, this is not right. How could someone who's been in this industry so long and achieved so much not feel accomplished or happy or be well? He was not a healthy person. And those moments transformed me at a very deep level. And my dad at one point even said, hey, I think you'd be great. You want to take over my book of business? I think you'd be really good in this industry. And I told him no, because I felt like there was another way that I could be of service. And now I've come back and now I'm actually serving the industry. So I just love how it's all kind of aligned up so perfectly.
such a great story. I love the paths plural that you've interwoven in your career with your dad's career. It's really a neat story.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So I know you've had a couple different renditions of your career. What are some of the challenges that you have faced as a professional woman?
Well, it's interesting. My name gives me a little bit of people don't always know I'm a woman because of the name Stevyn. When I email people, a lot of times they'll give me an ear, which is interesting that I hear other women sometimes struggle a little bit more with that. Um, I think that's been like a plus and a minus both, but beyond that, um, being in this industry, I've got two children.
Mhm,
So I've got an 11-year-old and a 14-year-old,
mhm.
and we actually homeschool our children.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so we have kind of set up our lives a little bit differently because I have priorities, and work and career is probably number 3 or 4 on those. And so being able to juggle those as a woman, my husband is actually a stay-at-home dad, and he helps with the homeschooling. He does amazing with the house, and that's really what works for us. But I want to be intimately involved in everything that we do. And so that's, as a woman being in this business, in business in general, something that's always a balance. I'm always reassessing and figuring out, is it worth it to do more of these conferences, or do I want to be here for my kids, whatever, and those are the things that I constantly bump up against. And I'm not saying that like you should go to the conference or should stay home. It doesn't matter. It's like, I'm just always having those conversations with myself, which I think is somewhat unique to a woman's journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Which is hard for a lot of people to understand because when I get to work, I'm starting my second job. I've already had my
Right.
first job at home,
Yes.
getting my kids ready for school and getting them ready for their day, making, their lunches and things like that. And then when I get to work, that's really my second job. And then when I go home, I go to work again.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. We all deal with that. If you're making lunches, or if I'm checking math homework in the morning, or whatever it is we're doing, like we've got split attentions, right?
Yes, 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 yes. So yeah, that's key to know for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. Well, so I know we have many, many years in our careers left, but what would you say your vision of retirement is?
My vision of retirement is freedom. If I could just say one word, it's freedom. And I ask that when I do my interviews, what people's definition is of health and wealth. And it echoes that basically it's to be able to do what you want, when you want, with the people you want, for as long as you want. And that's really what I'm looking for. And it's unfortunate, but I have examples in my life of somebody at the same age, somebody who's 75 and somebody else who's 75. And one of them can outplay me in pickleball, can outfish me, can out paddle me, and racquetball, all of those. And
That,
the other one is unfortunately only able to just sit on the couch and go to dialysis and takes
mm,
frequent visits to the hospital. And it's very sad
yeah,
because he doesn't get to do what he wants. The other one does. And so that's what it is for me. It's freedom and setting up those things. That's why we all create 401ks for our finances, for our retirement accounts. And that's why I call what I do is creating your 401k for your health, because you're putting those little deposits in and it's going to protect you in the future. So many people come in and they'll tell me this, like, my bank account is fat, but my health account is bankrupt. There's nothing left in there because I've been taking early withdrawals from, stress or whatever it is that I've been putting everything on the back burner. So the concepts of being successful financially and in your health are so parallel. They're almost the same thing. And that's why I think it's really important to take the skill set advisors already have and move it over, just transfer to a different thing, not money, but your health, and see it as that asset. So that's what I see. We want to retire well, right? We want to be healthy. We want to go do all these amazing things. And it takes investment on this end of things before we get there.
Yeah. And that's an amazing way to say it too, the freedom. And the freedom can be whatever you want the freedom to be.
Yeah.
I love how you explain that and shared like two different people who are at the same age, and the differences in their health and the differences in their abilities, and which would you pick for yourself? Okay. And I also love that you compared it to a 401k for the financial. It's kind of a 401k for your health,
right?
And to do things now so that when you are 75, you can play pickleball and beat a 40 something at pickleball.
Exactly.
And that person goes home and raves about that. Yeah, beat that young girl. And good for them. Good for them.
One of the advisors I interviewed, she's like, my dad is amazing. He's been the most influential in my life. We go for bike rides and he might get behind me and I'll say, hurry up, old man. And then he blows past me and I can't catch back up. And he'll brag about it for the next 2 weeks. So
great.
Yeah, that's what we want, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, fantastic. So I love your outlook. It's so positive. It's, how can we make it better? The freedom, the power. I can't, I have to keep talking to you because this is like very uplifting. And like I said, I can't wait to read your book, and I'm definitely going to follow you because you have a lot of great analogies, great things to say. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us all.
Thank you so much for helping me get this idea out there and help people, just become aware and maybe make one small change today. I hope that's what they can do.
Yeah. So on that note, if there are people watching, especially my fellow financial advisors, and they wanted to find out more about what you do, how would they find you?
So I'm super active on LinkedIn. If you find me, Stevyn Guinnip, Stevyn is with a Y, Stevyn, and Guinnip is Guinnip. Find me on LinkedIn, connect with me, and send me a message. I have lots of articles. I put tons of information out there for people to digest. But you can also go to growwellthy.com.
Okay.
And you can download, I've actually got this cheat sheet for health and wealth conversations with your clients. And it's 4 conversations you can start with them that are going to help them take a better look at their health and how that impacts their finances. But what it also does is helps you find gaps where they might have, need some long-term insurance or some income protection or whatever it might be. And that walks you through the step and gives you the tools to have those conversations.
Oh, fantastic. I'm going to go check this out. I'm like, as you were saying, you had these items on your website. I was like, maybe I should take that myself before I talk to anybody else about it. Make sure I'm doing the right things.
Yeah, just put your email in. It'll send you automatically the PDF. I think it's 4 pages and it's got 4 conversation starters. Look at it yourself, walk through. I mean, it just points out the fact that, health is a real component of your financial portfolio. And let's at least have those conversations about it. So it's going to set advisors apart when they have these conversations. And it's also going to find some business building opportunities for advisors as well.
Perfect. That's fantastic. Well, thank you for joining me. It's been a joy to have you. And I, again, look forward to more exciting things coming out of your camp. And I want to thank everybody else for participating with the Women in Wealth series. And again, I'm Regina McCann-Hess, president of Forge Wealth. My website is forgewealth.com, and I am on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Forge Wealth. And on LinkedIn, I'm Regina McCann-Hess. Thanks and have a great day.